Hello there, Karen here again, and today I'm doing a layout with these gorgeous photos of Alyssa and her daddy playing together one evening and having lots of fun. And I'm using the Rise and Shine paper pad from Amy Tan. I've had this pad probably for years. I've had it for a long time and I haven't really used it very much, so I thought it was really time I got it out and tried to create a layout with it. So I'm just picking out some papers that I thought might work with these photos. Obviously I don't end up using them all, but I've just pick out a selection and see what I can use. And that one there with the flying kite, I will actually be using that later on, even though I don't pull it out at this moment, but it will come in a bit later. This is the one I chose, as you will see very shortly, for my background. It's got lots of fun phrases on it, fun, and bright idea, good job, all these kind of things, fun together. So I thought that would make a nice background for these photos. And now I'm just looking for something to back the photos on. Initially I thought I'd back them all as a single block, so I've stick them all onto this backing paper to start with as a block, and then after a while after I thought about it, probably came back the next day and decided I wanted to split them, so I just separated it and cut it down the middle. And then I thought, because the background is quite busy with all the words, I'd block it out with some black acrylic paint and create a mat, I suppose, a black mat with paint, rather than using black cardstock, which was another option, which I could have done. But I just thought, for a change, I'd use some black paint and block out a couple of areas where the photos are going to go. As you can see, 2 blocks there of black acrylic paint. And then I thought I'd block out the bit in between the 2 rectangles where I could put my title, because I thought I need somewhere to put the title. In the end, I rather wish I hadn't done that, because it's not a big enough area for the title, so I have to do something else anyway. But it works out okay in the end, you hardly see that extra bit in between. So I'm just sort of making sure that I've got enough of the black paint that will show either side or all around the photographs once I've added the extra bits of matting that are going to do. So I've done a layer of the orange colour, because there's a bit of orange in the photo, so I've done a layer of orange, and now I'm doing a layer of tissue paper just to get a little softness around the photos. So this is the aqua tissue that comes in all the hip kits that we get. And this excuse me, this is a bit of the branding strip. It just says "You Rule," and I think there's "You Rule" in the paper as well. Oh, I do beg your pardon. And it's kind of appropriate, because there's such a tiny one, as I'm sure it happens in most households. She is in charge, definitely. She rules the house. Everything revolves around her, so it seemed appropriate to put a little "You Rule" at the top there. So I just created a little banner out of it and popped it in at the top there, and then I'm going to do a corresponding one at the bottom. So I'm just drying off. I did a little extra paint. I put this aside while I was doing the background, and it took quite a while to dry, so I just got my heat gun out to dry it off, and it's all ready to be stuck. I'm just seeing how they look in place. That looks okay. And then I decided that I need somewhere to put my title, which is going to be "Flying with Daddy." So I'm looking at the doily. See that those are a couple that I created on my silhouette, and that's just a doily that was in my stash that I bought, and I think actually that has a more white space to put the title on, so that's what I've decided to use. And I'm using, these are some sort of puffy alphas that were an exclusive hip kit alpha that I haven't used very much, but I think they're just the perfect colour, because although it's not very clear to see, but this background paper has got a slight aqua tint to it with the black letters, so I'm picking out the aqua in a few of the die cuts and a few of the embellishments, just to pick out that background colour. And the daddy is made with a font called Sketchbook, and the little tiny word is the good old Tim Holtz tiny word, which are tiny word stickers, or tiny alphas. I'm on my 2nd book of those, and trouble is I've almost run out of T's, even though I've got plenty of the other letters. The T's just seem to run out really fast, because you always use them for the tiny words like the and with, and anything beginning with T and to. So now I'm just doing some stamping. I wanted to create a little banner to balance out U rule at the bottom. So I've just taken a little bit of the same coloured cardstock, and I'm stamping on the date, and then I'm going to use one of those phrase roller stamps and stamp the word adorable, because she's totally adorable when she's and these pictures are adorable too. So I just thought that would, so it just kind of balances out the U rule, and I'm going to put that underneath. And that heart strip, that's also another branding strip that I was off one of the pages. I trimmed it off, so I thought, well, I like that, so I've tucked that in as well. So I've got it top and bottom, the U rule at the top and the date at the bottom, with the heart strip as well. I'm just starting to stick them all on. It took me a while to get around to actually committing everything to the paper, because I was still playing around with placement and things, but I think I've decided this is where everything's going to go. So now those are in place. I still haven't stuck the photos down, but they will be soon. But I have backed them onto some foam. Now this is that aqua coloured cardstock, and what I'm going to do is use it to create some flowers. So I've got this set. It's called they're Heartfelt Creations, and it's a stamp and matching die set, which is really lovely. I've used it quite a few times. So you start off by stamping your flowers on your chosen piece of cardstock, which I thought this was a good colour to make the flowers out of. It wasn't a page I was ever likely to use for anything else. And so I stamped it twice so I can make plenty of flowers. And I'm just going to cut it round so that, and then I put it through my die. You'll see, I'll show you in a moment, and you'll see how the dies fit straight on. You don't have to do them individually. It's the whole set in one go, and it just sits on over the stamps, so the stamped area. I'm just sticking it on with a bit of washi, and then I shall run it through my die cutting machine, which is an electronic one, which makes life a lot easier for me. And here it is. I've already done it. So you pop them out, and so you've got all the nice stamped image on the flowers, and then you just cut them out, and it just works really well. And then you just layer them up, and you can layer them up in all sorts of different ways, and I'm just playing around with it here, deciding how I'm going to layer them. Some have got 3 layers, some will only have 2, and you can put what you like in the middle, a button or a brad. I think on this occasion I'm going to use some black brads, because I think that the black and the aqua colour scheme is what I'm going for. And I'm just putting these, I'm using an embossing tool on a foam pad just to run it round in a circle, and it just kind of makes them stick up a little bit, gives them a little bit of dimension, each of the flowers, so they're not completely flat. And then I'm punching a hole in the middle of each one, and I'm picking out some brads. So I've got some quite large brads for the bigger flowers, and then some tiny brads for the smaller flowers. So I've got 2 sets. You've got a box there with all my larger brads in, and then on the left there's another little container with really tiny brads in all different colours. So I thought black would work really well with this layout, so they're going to all have black centres. And I'm just putting it aside, bringing my this is a piece of paper from the what's it called, the Flourish paper pad from Maggie Holmes. I had intended to use this paper pad for this layout, but I just couldn't make any of the papers work for me. I found her papers quite difficult to use. I don't know what it is, but I did think these leaves would work rather well with the flowers that I've just made. So I thought I'll cut some of those out of this lemon paper. So I'm just fussy cutting those out, and I'm just going to tuck them around the flowers when I put them on the layout. And you'll see where they're going to go in a moment. I'm still fiddling around trying to get these to look right, so I really need to stick these photos down. I will do very shortly, but at the moment I'm just placing the flowers in that corner just to see if that's where I want them to go. And then I thought perhaps I needed one central flower, one big sort of flourishy fancy flower. So I had this pack of flowers. I had them in different colours, and I had a black one, and I thought, well, that will work with this all the other black elements. So I stick that on that corner, and that's got sort of black beads in the middle. So I've decided that's where that's going to go. So now I'm going to start to stick everything down. The doily is going to go down, ready for the title to be added to it. And eventually, hopefully, I'm going to finally stick down photographs. So, yep, I've already put on the bit of foam, so I'm sticking those down now, finally. I sometimes find it hard to actually commit myself to sticking things on the page. I play around with it and put the embellishments on, and then I think I really need to stick this down. So once I finally decided everything's where I want it to go, I will now stick it all down. That's quite a big flower there, and then I'm going to surround it with the die cut flowers that I've made. And I'm going to use it because I'm using brads. Sometimes I put the brad through the flower and open it and then stick it onto the page. But on this occasion, I decided to poke the hole right through the background and actually make the brad hold the flowers to the page. It depends. I think sometimes it's not always easy. If there's too many layers, it's not always easy to get the brad to go through. But it wasn't that thick. The layers there weren't really any layers that I had to worry about. So I thought, well, I might as well put the brad straight through the backing paper and adhere it all down that way. So that's what I'm doing here. Sorry about my head. You have to see what you're doing when you're doing these things. It's quite a delicate operation, getting the holes and getting everything in the right place. And then I'm going to just tuck in these little fussy cut leaves that I cut out of the lemon paper from by Maggie Holmes. And I quite like them there, but in the end, when I came to stick them down, they didn't end up staying where I put them to start with. But they're fine. When I get them stuck down, they look okay. And I'm just going to stick down my title now, Flying with Daddy, because that's what they were doing. He was holding her up and he was whooshing her backwards and forwards, and I think she was having a lovely time. They have a lovely fun time when he comes home from work every evening. I think they have a fun hour together, and that's really nice. And my daughter's there ready with the camera to record everything. She's very well recorded, this baby, as you probably guessed, because there's been lots of pictures, there's been lots of layouts of her, and there's many more to come. And I wanted to put a couple more of the flowers down in that corner there, just underneath the title, just to bring the flowers down into that area as well. Looking at it now, I think I probably could do with another leaf down there. I might do that afterwards. I might add a little leaf in that bottom left corner. And I had that little black area, so I just got my white gel pen and did some hearts. Now, 2 days later, I decided, having thought about it, I didn't like that big black flower there. You probably were thinking, what on earth has she put that big blob of black in the middle for? Well, I agree, and I decided I didn't like it. So, having thought I'd finished, I came back again, took it off the page, and I've now decided to do another flower using, it's a tattered lace die. It's a 3-piece die where you've got 3 layers of making up a flower. So I took some more of that aqua paper and I've just stamped it with that swirly pattern for one of the layers of the flower. One layer is going to be black. That's going to be the back layer. Then the second layer is this aqua with the black, with the stamp, the swirly stamping on it. And then the top layer is going to be out of this tissue paper that I've been using, the aqua coloured or the pale minty coloured tissue paper. And it's a lovely die. I've used it quite a lot over the years. And I'm just getting rid of the little bits out of it. It's a really pretty die. You see the black is just plain, and then the middle layer is also filigree and really pretty. And then I've got that bit of tissue, 2 layers of the tissue on top. And then I've decided to go with a black floral shaped button to top it off in the middle. And I think that looks much nicer, not quite as starkly black in that position as that big black flower that I had on before. So I'm still sticking with the same colour scheme, but I've just softened it down a bit. And it just, as you'll see in a moment, it fills that space quite nicely. And I think it looks a lot better and a lot less dominant. I've realised, I kept looking at it and thinking, I really don't like that big black flower there. So this one I think looks much better. And I've just put a little bit of black thread in the flower and just tied it just to fill the holes in. And I'm just going to stick that on in that place. So it covers up any bits of paper that I've torn off, and it wasn't quite as big, so I did have a little bit of space to fill, and so I put another little flower there and this little die cut number 2 because there's 2 of them, so that just filled that little space. And I'm just trying to see if I want to tuck anything in at the top here, and I couldn't really find anything that really worked. So all I end up doing, so I stuck in that little number 2, and I've got a little puffy phrase, and it just says "so very happy," and I've just tucked that in there as well. And that's it. So finally, that is the goodbye wave. So thank you for joining me and sticking with it. And I do hope you'll join me again soon. Goodbye.